President Goodluck Jonathan renews call on African leaders to work together in solving economic and security challenges facing the continent.
Member countries of Lake Chad Basin Commission to intensify collaborative efforts in the ongoing war against terrorism.
Federal government restates support for local business entrepreneurs to unlock their potentials.
Leadership for nation building, focus on Lagos State.
Right. Leadership in its simplest form is the ability to inspire, direct, motivate, and encourage, as well as mentor others positively to a targeted end.
And of course, leadership has to do with organizing and adequately coordinating the resources of time, relationship, skills, expertise, and finances to achieve a goal for the common good.
Yes, indeed. In our continuation of our series on quality leadership in Nigeria, our conversation this morning will focus on Lagos, the state of excellence. Now, until 1991, Lagos was the political capital of Nigeria and has remained the nation's commercial nerve center. Now, today on Good Morning Nigeria GMN, our guest will be the governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Raji Fashola. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Claire Adilabo Abdurazak, and this is the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this program, of course, in discussing leadership. The course of the series of our conversations, we've had sessions with the governor of Akwa Ibom State. We've also had sessions with the governor of Benue State, as well as that of Delta State. And then, of course, yes, the new governor of Ekiti State, when immediately after he won his election. Later this morning, of course, in the course of the program, we're going to have a newspaper review and discussing the football administration in Nigeria will be another subject of our conversation today. An ex-professional and a veteran sports journalist will be joining us later in the program.
Yes, Kingsley, we will be looking at football administration in Nigeria, which way to go, particularly as, of course, Nigeria failed to qualify for the AFCON, competition.
Well, is barely symptomatic of the many issues that we have to grapple with regard to our football administration, and that's precisely what we'll be dealing with later this morning. Merely not qualifying, was sad enough, but exactly how we organize our soccer, again, which also relates to leadership. Yes. It's a question that, yes, we have to.
Leadership, but yes. I'm wondering how AFCON will be without Nigeria, without the Super Eagles. Anyway.
Unfortunately, well, I mean, to be, I'm sure the soccer world will miss Nigeria, but certainly some other countries will be happy that we're not there, because that then boosts their chances.
I was watching the permutations already, yes. And South Africans are saying, look, Nigeria is out, this is our game. This is our time to, capture the trophy. Anyway, we wish the teams the best of luck. But this is NTA, and we also have coming up on our program this morning our regular segments. Like Kingsley said, we will be looking at business news, sports, foreign, arts and entertainment, as well as the review of the newspapers. Baya Toibo will be joining us in a short while. For now, we go over to the newsroom where beautiful Rhoda Obo is already sitting. Rhoda, good morning.
Good morning, Claire. Hello there, good morning, and of course, good to have you join us here. President Goodluck Jonathan has again called on governments of various regions in Africa to work together in solving economic and security challenges facing the continent. The president said this while addressing journalists in N'Djamena, Republic of Chad, after a bilateral meeting with Chadian President Idriss Deby. The talks between President Goodluck Jonathan and President Idriss Deby centered on economic cooperation and the security challenges facing Nigeria and some African countries. State House correspondent Segun Laole reports that although the meeting was held behind closed doors, the two leaders agreed that since no region or sub-region is an island to itself, the need for regional and continental cooperation is non-negotiable. The excesses of terror groups in West Africa and Central Africa, especially that of Boko Haram, formed the real focus at the meeting.
Excesses of the terrorist group called the Boko Haram. And they have a lot of external influence from outside Africa. And that's one of the reasons why all the countries have to work together. Our foreign ministers have been meeting. So the countries will surely work together. Because when one country is not safe, the other countries are not safe. If you look at the economy of Chad and that of Nigeria linked up, the Boko Haram people don't take permission to move from Chad to Niger to Cameroon to Nigeria. So if the countries don't cooperate, we will not find it easy to win the war, because when the heat is strong in one country, they will go to the other one and hide. So we must work together, and we're discussing things along that line.
Meanwhile, Nigeria has called on member countries of Lake Chad Basin Commission and Benin to intensify collaboration efforts in the ongoing fight against terrorism, lest it consumes the sub-region. The Minister of Defense said this in a message to the fourth meeting of the Ministers of Defense, Chiefs of Defense and Heads of Intelligence and Security of the countries in Abuja.
We continue to condemn the reprehensive and atrocious activities of Boko Haram in our countries. This, therefore, brings to the fore the urgent need for close collaboration between us to curb this menace.
Today's meeting provides us another opportunity to finalize our plans for taking collective measures in the ongoing war against terrorism.
President Goodluck Jonathan has again pledged commitment of government towards working for peace and harmony as he promised the end to security challenges confronting the nation. The president, represented by Vice President Muhammad Namadi Sambo, said this at a two-day roundtable meeting with special advisors on religious matters from the 36 states and the FCT. The roundtable is an initiative under the auspices of the Office of the Presidential Assistant on Islamic Affairs and that of Christian Matters. It is meant to engender more understanding between holders of offices at the federal and state levels so that together they can, as the theme of the meeting stipulates, synergize and interface for national development. The president commended the two assistants for considering religion as a promoter of peace and harmony, saying it would deepen understanding of common value. He said that the theme captures the essence of governance and government's transformation agenda, which reorganizes the need for a core religion in its place in national development.
We must therefore apply it as a guiding light against the backdrop of all the problems surrounding us. Religion must bring out the best in us. We must use it toward conflict resolution, sustainable peace, and the entrenchment of a just and egalitarian society.
If we believe in something, we must work towards it. As Muslims and Christians, we must work with our holy scriptures. And when we do that, there will not be any problem in this country.
But different things have happened that have rocked the boat. First, let me thank God that the boat is still floating.
And now, the case of alleged prime suspect Aminu Oguche in the Yanya bombing of 2014 has been struck out by an Abuja Federal High Court. The case that was filed against him by the police was struck out on Monday afternoon by Justice Adeni Ademola for lack of diligent prosecution. Delivering his ruling, Justice Adeni Ademola expresses disappointment at what he called the shoddy way the police has prosecuted the case since they filed the charges before his court. He therefore struck out the 4-count charge bordering on terrorism, stressing that nothing has produced before him to show seriousness in the prosecution of the charges. Our correspondent, Femi Okewo, however, reports that fresh charges may be filed against Aminu Oguche, this time by the State Security Service. Meanwhile, Nigeria's First Lady, Dame Patience Jonathan, is advocating necessary legislative framework for the adoption of a quota system for women in both elective and appointed positions. It was at a two-day national conference on women and election in Abuja. The conference, with the theme Enhancing Women Opportunity for Women Candidates in the 2015 election, is aimed at addressing the need for every political party in Nigeria to commit to the 35 affirmative action based on the 2015 Gender National Policies for Women Aspirants into Political Association. Representing the First Lady, Minister of Water Resources, Sarah Ochekbe, restated the progress of the nation depends largely on the progress of its women.
Begin to aggressively unite, network, and build alliances across gender divides in order to secure meaningful change.
The conference was organized by the Democratic Governance for Development Projects, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, and the Independent Electoral Commission. The Nigerian Air Force has released the promotion of its senior officers to the next higher rank. Among the officers promoted are 16 Air Vice Marshals, 35 Commodores, 33 Group Captains, and 26 Wing Commanders. A statement from the Air Force Director of Public Relations, Air Commodore Alonge, says, as an annual exercise, the promotion is to encourage officers and men to rededicate themselves to service of the nation. The first Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Summit in Nigeria has opened in Abuja in attendance of those hoping to leverage on Nigeria's economic space to build brands and businesses of their own. Ahmed Ambali reports that the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who declared the summit open, says for those who will dare, government is willing to provide enabling environment to help unlock their potentials.
To provide solution.
We'll now take a break and we'll bring you more reports after the break, so stay with us.
Shopee has ensured the reconstruction of the Abuja Lokoja Road and the East-West Road in Port Harcourt.
The standard gauge rail tracks from Abuja to Kaduna and Lagos to Kano indicate that our trains are coming back.
The second Niger Bridge in the southeast and the Loko Oweto Bridge in the north central are in progress, thanks to Shopee.
Shopee's mass transit program has made transportation easier for Nigerians.
Shopee has rehabilitated over 1,000 health centers across Nigeria.
Shopee has provided mama kits to pregnant women, and polio is on the verge of eradication.
Shopee has also ensured the provision of social amenities and through its various training programs for young people guarantees a better future.
Shopee, delivering service with integrity.
Thanks for being there. A renowned author, poet, Professor Ni Osundari has been named the lone recipient of this year's Nigerian National Merit Award for his contributions to the literary development of Nigeria. The governing board of the Nigerian Merit Award, who announced this ahead of the investiture to be performed by President Goodluck Jonathan, said the award provides a platform for Nigerian intellectuals to be celebrated.
Outstanding minds to concentrate and direct their immense mental energies to finding solutions to Nigeria's problems and thus promote national development as well as enhance national image.
And that's the news. Now it's back to Claire and Kingsley. You know, Claire and Kingsley, I haven't gotten over the fact that we did not qualify for the next Cup of Nations. It's really, really heartbreaking. Deeper than a lot of people might think. Personally, it is. It is. I must say.
Like a knife in your heart.
I'm telling you.
Well, Rhoda, accept our sympathy. I think a number of us have grieved over it, and we have overcome the sadness of our non-qualification. But the qualification actually was in our hands. I think we move on now to other tournaments and other seasons. This is Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. After the break, business news.
Jonathan.
This message is brought to you courtesy Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria. Done for One Vision, Nigeria.
What's going on? Bros, you don't know. Take 1 minute, so I just introduced one sharp free data and smartphone offer. There you go.
Hello? Oh boy, they will knock you up to 1.5 gigabyte data when you buy the smartphone. Plus double any data when you load way past 200 MB for the next 12 months.
No waste time, oh. With Chickly money, you save it and enjoy sharp browsing with Techno Phantom Z, R7, and other special techno phones them.
Etisalat, now you're talking.
Put a cup of jig in the water, we'll get school uniforms whiter, and it is the tough stain fighter that will get your whites much brighter. Just Chickens! Pot puree and lemon. Just Chickens! Hey, you better go get it! Now available in lemon and pot puree fragrances, the newest and freshest way to chickens.
The Dettol and Ministry of Health team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases.
Do you know what germs are? They are tiny, harmful, living things that you pick up from dirty surfaces. These germs can make you ill and prevent you from doing all the things you like to do with friends. That's why you need to fight them by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Mom, today we learned how to fight germs with Dettol soap.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We are going on now to business news. Claire?
Right, on business news this morning, we understand that 100 Nigerian businesses have been highlighted as Nigeria's top business entities that are making very relevant impact on the economy. Shike Olaikbenayi is on business news this morning. Shike, take it from here.
Nigerian businesses have been identified for recognition with the oil and gas and telecommunication industries leading the game. Chairman of the Business Assessment Committee, Jim Obaze, highlighted some of the criteria for the selection to include up-to-date payment of taxes, creation of employment for Nigerians, level of investment in Nigeria, which are in line with international benchmark for assessment. The recognition, which is in line with the centenary celebration of Nigeria's 100 years of existence, is to appreciate the commitment of the private sector to economic development of the nation.
Once we are sure that we have driven the investment, the business community beyond a certain level, we may be moving it beyond 100. But for now, and in time to come, it continues to be top 100 businesses in Nigeria.
The chief executive officers of the top 100 businesses will, on the 1st of December, be hosted to a dinner by President Goodluck Jonathan. Obaze says the ultimate goal of the program is to further bridge the gap between the private sector and the government.
The celebration of these institutions will promote business enterprise in Nigeria. It will also foster socio-economic development and definitely will lead to the general well-being of Nigerians.
Now a quick look at stocks performance in the Nigerian capital market. The market opened the week this Monday on a downward trend as the market benchmark indicator lost 0.15% point to close at 33,875.26 points.
On that note, we round off business news. I am Shikeola Ipenayina.
Much there, Shike, for the business news package. Now we go on to the very interesting segment of Newspaper Review, and Bayo Atoyobi is already here with us in the studios. Newspaper Review time. Okay, the various papers that we have this morning also have different front page stories. Politics is there, business is also there, as well as a number of other copies that we shall be running through very quickly. We begin now with the Nigerian Pilot. And the Nigerian Pilot has a lead story on politics. APGA levies GUBA, that's governorship aspirants, $3 million. APGA, oftentimes called APUGA, levies governorship aspirants $3 million. Details are to be found on page 4, and it has two riders there. Demands 250 million naira campaign expenses, and candidates must have financial muscle, says party. And also there, just below the that headline there is a strip that says Cross River PDP Secretariat bombed, and details are on page 4 as well. And just above that, and just below the name flag of Nigerian Pilot is a story on oil and gas. Shell shuts Bonin Light pipeline, and details are to be found on page 4. Some promotional copies on the front page. At the foot of the front page are as follows. Emergency rules. Senate drills security chiefs today. Details are on page 6. And APC PDP trade words over DSS invasion. And Senate form. Refund my money. Oji Kalu tells PDP. And on page 41, Nigeria's crude oil exports increased 12.4% to 2.26 million barrels per day. And also on page 6, but promoted on the front page, court frees alleged Inyanya bomber Oguche freeze, actually, but I think clearly there are other headlines that render it perhaps much more accurately. Our next paper will be This Day newspaper. At the top of the front page, just above the name flag, MTN, First Bank, Dangote Group make top 100 Nigerian companies list. And right Boko Haram to stop attacks, Orise Jafo tells Sultan. And also on the front page there, a business copy, Central Bank likely to raise MPR and CRR to support the Naira. Details are on page 8. And APC accuses DSS of stalling membership drive as police recover 1,700 permanent voters' cards at Seme. And the story has a rider. PDP vows to resist opposition parties' attempt to truncate democracy. And right here on the front page of This Day, court strikes out charges against Inyanya bomb blast mastermind. Striking out of the charges doesn't amount to an acquittal. And also, one of the stories we'll take from the inside pages of This Day, page 9 of This Day. NEC, that is the Electricity Regulatory Commission, rules out electricity tariff hike, and MSMEs to enjoy low tariffs. And also there's a rider to that story on page 9. Federal government threatens discos, rejecting load allocation with license withdrawal. And also on page 9 there of This Day, Jonathan congratulates HID Awolowo on 99th birthday. And the next paper that I'll be taking is Newswatch Times. Newswatch Times has a lead story. China gets Nigeria's 2 trillion naira rail project, and has a rider, state capitals to be rail linked. Also above the name flag, the story I read earlier, but can President to Sultan ride Boko Haram to stop attacks? And also on the front page of Newswatch Times, Ondo PDP protesters storm National Secretariat over aspirants screening. And court strikes out suit against alleged Inyanya bomber Oguche. Just at the bottom there, just at the strip on the front page of Newswatch Times, 2 business copies. U.S. firm acquires 25.5 bank, and Lagos budgets 489.6 billion naira for 2015. The last copy I'll be taking will be The Guardian. And the lead story of The Guardian says how Tambuwa's failed presidential bid splits APC. It's of course in quotes. And it has 3 riders there. Tinubu accused of betraying Buhari, and ex-governor allegedly begs party's aspirant for forgiveness, and leaders aid false claims. Those are the stories that will be taken from the front page of The Guardian. Claire, we'll probably go on to other papers now before we...
A few of the papers we have this morning. The National Mirror leads with the story. PDP tackles APC over PVC cloning allegation. And it writes with APC blasts DSS, says it should provide evidence. That's the lead story. And the picture story there is that of the President, Christian Association of Nigeria, Pastor Ayo Orisejafo, welcoming Vice President Namade Sambo and Sultan of Sokoto, Elijah Saad Abubakar III, during a roundtable meeting in, of course, Abuja yesterday. And below that, Boko Haram kills scores in fresh attacks. Details on page 2. And it writes with Borno, Yobe reject extension of state of emergency. Now, core member policemen killed in bank raid. Details are on page 8. Other trending stories are on the front page, just above the masthead. FG loses 2.1 billion naira daily as Shell short oil pipeline. It has a rider, OPEC, under pressure to cut output. Details are on page 2. And on the right column there, court stops trial of Abuja bomb blast suspect. Details on page 6. And also on that column, civil servants threaten strike over poor welfare. Page 6. And Buhari condemns now siege, returns nomination forms. Page 7. And to Vanguard we turn. Vanguard leads with a story. Court voids charges against Nyanya bomber. And it writes with, for lack of diligent prosecution by police, gives DSS nod to retain accused in custody as police DSS wrangle over case. Other trending stories, Boko Haram terrorists disguised as traders kill scores in Borno. Details on page 8. Sultan Orisejafo differ on Boko Haram, page 9. And the picture story there, that of our guest this morning, Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola of Lagos there, presenting his 2015 budget estimates of 489.690 billion naira to the Honorable Adeyemi Ukuforije, that Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly. That was yesterday. Now, trending at the bottom there, PDP World Congresses, Chime loses in court. Details on page 15. Enugu High Court judge alleges threat to life. And, of course, just below the masthead, federal government threatens to withdraw disco's licenses. Details are on page 8. And then lastly, the paper I have, Daily Sun. And Daily Sun leads with Boko Haram overruns Borno border town and writes with scores killed, military fights back. And just above the Daily Sun masthead, you have Kalu withdraws from Abia senatorial race. Uzodinma praises party for accepting Imo Congress results. And earlier on, Kingsley talked about the former governor of Abia State demanding a refund of his the fee paid for his senatorial ticket. All right, son beheads father. It's on the right column there on the front page. He's cause of my woes, that son alleges. Nyanya bombing, court dismisses case against prime suspect Oguche and blames IG for poor prosecution. Details on page 5. And treading there, you'll find that on the bottom there, Buhari submits APC presidential nomination form. All right, that's all. Bayo.
Thank you, Claire. Well, as you probably will know, President visited Chad yesterday in a one-day visit with talks with President Idris Deby. And the basis of it all, we are told, is that because insurgency has an international and external influence, there is need for Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and other neighboring countries to cooperate so that when the heat is put on, they won't run to hide in another country. And that actually manifested itself as Damasak. Damasak is a border town between Nigeria and Niger. And the report you read there, Claire, indicates that insurgents disguised as traders and entered the market and opened fire on innocent citizens. That was yesterday. And as at the point of this report, there are no indications about the number of casualties, but again, it is part of the heat that is put on them, and they are heading towards Niger, where they are causing it. There was also an explosion in Calabar yesterday. The PDP secretariat had been closed since November 1st after the World Congress. They were supposed to have opened yesterday, and somehow an explosive device was thrown there. Thanks to Providence, there were no casualties, nobody was killed, but however, they had to move the Congress to the presidential guest house. As part of the meeting for special advisors on religion, there have been a meeting of interfaith agencies, and at that meeting, the Sultan of Sokoto, in his eminence, said that Islamic leaders feel the pain of insurgents, as every single soul lost means a lot to them. And the Sultan lamented that when Islamic leaders condemn Boko Haram, they still are told that they have not done enough. And the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Pastor Orise Jafo, also said that, well, if Boko Haram are preaching a religious faith, then they should get across to them to make sure that they preach the correct faith so that they will stop the killing. And in that instance, the vice president, Namadi Sambo, who represented the president, also said that religion should be used as a guide to mankind and should be applied as a guidelight rather than for conflict and killing people. He said peace is very essential for a just and egalitarian society. And so at that meeting, they were able to call all special advisors on religion across the nation to attention so that they will bring to bear the need for peace. There was also a fake suicide bomber in Kano. A lady was dressed in a veil and entered a police facility. She was stopped, she refused to stop, and when they threatened her, she said, well, if you kill me, there are two others who are at large somewhere in the city. Eventually, they demobilized her and found that the lady probably has some mental challenge because they found in her empty cans of pomade which she has strung together and was wearing. But that notwithstanding, they've now referred to specialists to ascertain her state of mind. A reverend gentleman has prophesied that very soon the Chibok girls will be released. And he has also said that although they are scattered around the world, we should have confidence that very soon they will be released. He also added that he cautioned against the repeat of June 12th, particularly that there is heightened political rhetoric and politicians particularly, are throwing caution to the wind, and he cautioned that we should all be very careful. The story about the alleged Nyanya bomber has apparently been distorted in the media. What happened was that, if you recall, the judge who is presiding over that case had warned that the police were not prosecuting the case as diligently as it was. And so the judge had no choice but to strike out the case. However, because the DSS had applied for a 90-day period for them to conclude their investigation, the gentleman is still with the DSSS. And the tussle earlier on between the police and the DSS, who should actually prosecute the alleged suspect mastermind of the Nyanya bombing, is still on. And we are hoping that now that the police case has not been followed due diligently, we hope that the DSSS case will be followed diligently to bring it to There is another human interest story that I think should attract everybody's attention. There is a lady in Benin. Her name, I think, is Clara Dominic. She has been married she's 44 years old. She's been married for 18 years and was seeking for the fruit of the womb. Guess what? It now came in torrents. She had quadruplets.
Okay,
well, congratulations.
Congratulations
to her. If you recall, there was also a Nigerian in the US then who was called the Octomom. She just had them so many. I mean, it's a baby, it's a baby. So Bayo would like to thank you for joining us today, as usual, on the newspaper review segment. Just one story. Yesterday, you called, we discussed taxation and tax evasion. At page 8 of The Guardian is a story that says that the EFCC, they have recovered 3 billion naira from tax evaders as Nigeria is diversified into non-oil sources for more revenue. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We're going on now to our main conversation. And first, of course, we'll be hosting the Governor of Lagos State.
Smile, oh, our country don't better, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck, they do, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck, they do, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck, they do, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck, they do, agricultural sector, petroleum product, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck, they do, railway system, good roads, and aviation, oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see, waiting good luck they do. Healthcare systems and youth empowerment. Oh, yeah, make una follow me, come see. Waiting good luck they give us light, give us food, give us house, give us school. With good luck, Jonathan, our country don't better. Oh, hey.
This message is brought to you courtesy Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria. Done for One Vision, Nigeria.
I need a great deal, the best price I can get. That's why I shop on Jumia.
Quality you can trust.
You can count on us.
Shopping easier. Nation delivery. When you shop on Jumia, when the rain or shine,
The Infinix Zero, now available at 23,900 Naira at jumia.com.ng. Jumia, the online shop you can trust.
The Dettol and Ministry of Health team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases.
Do you know what germs are? They are tiny, harmful, living things that you pick up from dirty surfaces. These germs can make you ill and prevent you from doing all the things you like to do with friends. That's why you need to fight them by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Mom, today we learned how to fight germs with Dettol soap.
All right, thank you for joining our conversation this morning. It's reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and this is Good Morning Nigeria. Now, Lagos was the political capital of Nigeria until 1991, when that position, of course, shifted. But it is the nation's commercial nerve center. Now, in May 2007, a gentleman called Babatunde Raji Fashola became the governor of Lagos State, and in 2011, he was returned for a second term. Now, as that second term winds down, our focus this morning will be on how his leadership qualities have impacted on the lives of Lagosians.
Okay, Claire, right here in the studios with us this morning is the governor of Lagos State, a learned senior advocate and one-time chief of staff to the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola. I would like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, certainly, let's take a panoramic sweep of leadership, which is the essence of our conversation. We had the privilege of speaking to some of your brother governors in the past. What, in your opinion, has been the most challenging aspect of leadership, having regard to, one, a people who are in a hurry for development; two, a people who have also been at the receiving end of failed promises; and three, a people who obviously would like to have a handshake with the sun?
Well, I think the first thing I'd like to say is that the concept of leadership is a much discussed, perhaps less understood concept. And for me, the best place to assess leadership is first from the smallest unit of any community, the home. All of us are leaders in our homes, whether as top sibling or as parent, and so on and so forth. And who amongst us is that person, the go-to person, if you like, who we call to find out what is going on, the person who is ready to give some of himself or herself so that everybody can get on with life. So when you contextualize in that way, you probably see that if we all do more in our small corners where we dominate, life would perhaps be a lot better. On a larger scale in government, it's a bigger undertaking. Lagos, 21 million people, eventually surrender their fortunes to the trust of one person in the executive arm who then picks people to help him. And so for me, it's always first to remember that it's a public trust and it's not a private business. So I'll probably have run my private business differently from the way that I would have run government. So it's to first understand that it's a public trust. So it's not about me, it's not about my team, it's about the people who look to us to get things done. So speaking about broken promises, it behoves us then to ensure that when we make a commitment, we are bound in honor and by duty to discharge that commitment. People must believe what we say, even if they don't, they have lived on a diet of broken promises, as you say. And one of the first things I said in 2007 was that I understood that there were broken promises, but that we brought our integrity as our collateral to governors, and that if they believed what we said then, they will certainly not disbelieve what we will do.
Just before we even delve into what you've done, Lagos is known as mini Nigeria, with, of course, people from all walks of life, from different ethnic tribes, you know, living and doing business in Lagos. Now, you've had a practical experience leading, you know, this, you know, people steering the leadership in Lagos State. Would you candidly say it's been easy? Has it been an easy ride for you?
No, it can't be easy when you have that very complex assemblage of people. But it's to understand what people want, and maybe that's the best way to perhaps understand this. When I was seeking office, there were promises that I made on the basis of which I campaigned. And I think in a speech that I gave in Harvard, I referred to what I called my little black book, because at every campaign rally where I made promises, I wrote down what I said I was going to do. And when I became governor, one of the things I did was to commission a poll for people to go around and ask the various communities in their local governments what did they expect from the government they had then elected. The results of the polls came out. And the next thing that followed that was a local government tour to go and validate that poll. Meeting with young people, meeting with women groups, meeting with men group, the Obas, in town hall meetings. They were not courtesy calls. We came to do business.
What were some of the challenges you had to address?
I think if I can summarize them, they came from unemployment, to roads, to drainages, to security, to electricity, and the daily issues, the human issues. And in every community we went, we told them that, look, this is what the polls say that you asked for. Is it true? And 9 times out of 10, they said, yes, those are the things we wanted. And we said to them, we can't do everything. But out of these broad 6 issues, what is the most compelling for you? So we found out that in some communities, it was their drains that they wanted first. In some communities, it was their roads they wanted first. In some places, it was their schools they wanted first. And that was the basis of our first budget in 2008. And you would see from then on, there was hardly, in fact, there was no local government in which we were not busy intervening, giving people what they asked us to do for them. So, and that goes back to the concept of it being a public trust. So it wasn't just our wishful thinking and all of what we liked to do. It was first, there were developmental things that we thought that, okay, if we headed this way, things would be better. But people must first connect and say, this is what we asked for and this is what we are getting. I recall during one of those visits, somewhere near Ikorodu, where there is the road expansion now going on, we just saw, I observed an unusually high level of water. And I asked the bus to stop. So I went down and I saw people had been displaced. And when we asked for that, they said it was the Onyo Dam that they normally release water from the dam. And I said, but you just elected a government. Why didn't you call us? And they said, no, that, they just went to vote and they didn't think that anybody would come. I said, I'm here. How can we help you solve this problem? Now, one of the first things we did was to engage with the Ogun government and let us know when you want to release this water so that people are not displaced. Let us have a recalibrated way of doing this. Let's release more water during the dry season so that the dam doesn't get to the risk of overflowing and bursting, which is a much more serious problem. And over time, we've managed the problem, but that place hasn't flooded since after that experience, except when we had that massive flood in 2011. But that was what government should be doing. And there's so many other instances, but connecting with people and also sharing the problems with them. And that is why every 100 days I'm out there meeting various sectors of our communities, whether it's the international community, it's the youth group, it's the women group, it's the business community, explaining to them what the issues are. So it's like a family.
Did this crystallize into a kind of working master plan for Lagos? Or were you just taking them at pole by pole?
Well, interesting that you raised that point. You can't run that kind of massive undertaking without a plan. Now, first is to understand that it is people who need to be served. It is people who have to serve them. And so, first understanding what people want was important for us. Then, identifying what resources we had to work with. The resources we had to work with were people, our most important resource. Finding the right people, getting people to lock together to a common idea that this is the way we are going. Our next other resource was time, which had to be brutally and frugally managed. If we said it was 9 a.m., it had to be 9 a.m. If we said we will finish a project within weeks, we will finish it within that time frame. And, again, if you remember there was a failed bridge somewhere in Ikorodu then, I think that was 2007, 2008, and we told them that it would be finished in a matter of 6 weeks. We finished 2 weeks before. And those were the things that engendered trust, which was the issue you raised, that if we say that we will do it, we will do it.
Okay. What, in your opinion, has been the knock-on effect of your leadership? I ask this question in the context of what is generally seen as the uninspiring performance of local governments countrywide, including Lagos.
Well, again, I think the concept of leadership for me is that oftentimes people already know what they want, and I see myself as their servant rather than their leader. It's for us to now say, look, listen, let's get this done together. And if I may use the anecdote of soccer, oftentimes you don't find that the highest goal scorer is the captain of the team, but he gets the goal, and when the trophy is to be won, they tell the leader, go and pick the trophy. So it's a community action, getting everybody to work. I think that it is difficult. I find it very difficult, given what I know, to sit down here and pass judgment over local governments. I find that a little difficult because I know that their resources are severely limited against their responsibilities. And if you look first at the fact that primary education is what local governments have been saddled with, they have also been saddled with primary health care. Those two alone, in terms of teachers and health workers, constitute the bulk of the workforce of the local government, and it's a lot of people. So by the time salaries are paid, there is not a lot left to do so many things. We must understand that first. And so if one arm of government takes 52%, which is the federal government, takes 52% of the resources of the republic, and 36 states have to manage 26% amongst them. So it's 136 of 26. And then 774 local governments have to do with something about 20%. But we give them perhaps our most defining responsibilities: childbirth from primary health care centers, foundational education. That's where you learn ABC. And we say things are not going. Have we funded that department sufficiently? And I think it's important to go further from here and then see that in Lagos, for example, we have about 10,000 roads in Lagos. 6,000 of those roads belong to local governments. 3,000 of them belong to the state, and about 200 or so, or 200 and something, belong to the federal.
Well, just to illustrate the point you're making, a counterpoint could very well be that in terms of basic education, the federal government, through the Universal Basic Education Commission, already supplements the states and invariably the local governments. And we have also seen instances in recent months, or perhaps in the last 2-3 years, where the federal government, through the SHOPE, has also been supplementing primary health care. And the results, the returns, of course, from the states where the program has taken off, the results have been salutary. But the point
is, so?
Well, the results have been salutary.
Sir, can I weigh in on that? I don't think that this kind of assessments help us.
Yes.
You know why? I think I would like to see this team go out and see the results for themselves. But that aside, I think the important point to make here is to understand that this is a federation, or supposed to be one. You see, you can't sit down in Abuja and design a one-size-fits-all model for all schools. What happens with the basic education fund? The funding alone is not just the problem. You distribute money. In our experience in Lagos, from 1999 until recently, and please allow me to make this point with some clarity. The model was build schools, and you will see those bungalow schools with the stamp suburb, and they were badly built because the ability to access funding was dependent on whether you had quickly completed, and everybody wanted to access the funds. Until I wrote to the federal government and said, look, you can't stereotype us to these bungalows. We have already developed our own school designs, and it will take sometimes more than 9 months to do this. So you must allow us to do things our way. But we will ultimately get to the same destination, which is to provide school infrastructure. So you can't sit down in the center and say that everybody must do the same thing. The problems are not the same. In some states, they already have schools.
That was adjusted at some point.
It has adjusted as the basis of our intervention.
But that is the essence of collaboration, working together.
Can I make this point? Can I make this point, please? The point I wanted to make in addition was that the problem of education does not start and end with classrooms. Teachers' welfare, teachers' remuneration, nutrition. There are some places where they are losing teachers in rural areas to the urban centers because the pay there is better. So if you were going to provide that kind of funding, don't stricture the use to a one-size-fits-all. Each state, each community should then be able to say, this is where my problem is its deepest. My teachers are going to the city. I want to keep them in my rural area. So if you force me then to just build classrooms and I'm losing my teachers, you created more problems for me.
What is obtainable at the moment now? You just said it was
so
adjusted.
we're having those issues. What I believe it is fair to acknowledge that based on our intervention, the school model thing has been changed. But there isn't sufficient latitude still for states to take some of those monies to solve their unique problems. There are places where you have the schools, you have some teachers, children won't come to school. I think it is still part of education to allow states to say, okay, how do I bring these kids to school? by nutrition. I can provide food in the schools and get the kids to come. The problems are different from place to place. And so I think that's the point I wanted to make. And then as far as Shopee is concerned, if you come to the Lagos toll gates today, you will see what is being done with Shopee. There are cases also where the money is being collected and is being diverted. I've had cause to write to the Minister for Works that it was projects that we had done, street lighting projects that we did during the sports festival along about Macaulay. Immediately we finished because we had so many states in educational institutions in that area, and we insisted that people must be safe, light up the streets so that policemen can go around patrol. And we didn't want people to come to our states and just lock themselves up in hostels. We wanted them to go out and feel. So we did all of the street lighting on Herbert Macaulay. You know what they did? They put signboard there, Shopee, and sent it to Abuja that they had done that. Drainage projects, this was sheer fraud, and all of this is documented in letters, and he said he would investigate. So, and if you go to the Lagos toll gate now, you see men in black gathering down there in the name of a Shopee Federal Task Force. I don't think that was the objective, and I think you should go round.
Well, that's fine, Your Excellency. We do not have the benefit of Shopee immediately to respond to this. But we're discussing leadership.
Yes.
And questions have been raised oftentimes about the recruitment process for leaders at the local government level. That's one of the points I'm driving at.
Oh, I see.
You've talked about the economic challenges that they face, but oftentimes, I mean, you don't find, I'm sorry, with the greatest respect to them, find too many serious-minded persons wanting to be local government chairman.
Well, that's us first to ask ourselves. Yes. I've often argued that you don't need a title to serve. And that's why I started from the Foundational Leadership Institute, which is the home. You don't need a title to serve. If you take leadership, take responsibility for yourself, then you are able to take responsibility for others. If you are a person who depends on others to do everything for you, you are less likely to be a person to depend on, because leadership really is all about service. That is what lies at the heart of it. It is when people have served us very well that we acknowledge that they were great leaders. It is not while they are serving us. So that said, many of us feel that the local government is a place that is beneath us. And it is perhaps also because we do not fully appreciate the very enormous foundational, and I stress that with foundational responsibilities that it has. Because really, if there is no complication in a pregnancy, it should not leave a primary health care center. And this is why we are intervening at those levels. This is why we are intervening. If you will see people who didn't get foundational education and later in life they try to get it, and you will see that in their tenses something is wrong because the superstructure is not standing on the right foundation. So if you tell people now, I don't know if you would like to serve in a local government, and this is the kind of thing I would like to do after office, to go back to my local government and see how I can impact. America's chief of staff has gone back to be mayor of Cook County, which is the equivalent of a local government. Many of us feel that it is something beneath us. But more importantly, a recruitment process, we must understand that leaders are not produced with the same sufficiency with which perhaps we can manufacture chairs to a particular design, or we can automate the production of suits. They come few and far between. And a simple test is America has produced 44 presidents in 300 years. Sitting down here, can you remember 14 names off the top of your head? It's unlikely. Britain has produced 75 prime ministers. How many of them do we remember? The reason we don't remember all of them is that not many of them were truly outstanding. And even the ones we didn't meet remain ingrained in our memory because we read and heard of the outstanding quality of leadership that they provided in the period that they lived.
Your Excellency, we must move on. The Lagos state government prides itself, for having taken Lagos to the next level in terms of development, infrastructural development. And indeed, we can point at, quite a number of, things that have happened. I remember Oshodi, for instance, growing up in Lagos. Oshodi was a no-go area. Today, you can drive, smoothly. That we know. But there are other developments, other things, you have said here. But at what cost has the state government done all this? At what cost to the people?
First of all, let me say it is not the Lagos state government that prides itself. It's the people of Lagos who say this. For me, I wasn't elected to posture about pride. I was elected to respond to people's problems. Now, in terms of costs, our costs are disclosed by our budgets. This is what we want to do this year. This is how much we anticipate we are going to spend. What we spend is a function of what we earn. And, so the numbers are multiplying. Make no mistake about that. 21 million people against what resources? Now, we get roughly, on the average, about 10 billion naira every month. Okay? And we generate 19-20 billion on our own. Now, a budget of 489 billion naira, which I presented yesterday, divide that by 21 million people, you will get something in the region of about 23,000 naira. For per capita, per head. And now if I gave you 23,000 naira and I said to you, I will see you in December next year, what are you going to do with that? Can you provide your own security? Can you pay for schools? Can you provide your own roads? So I think the heart of the matter really is not so much how much it costs, is where the money is going. And by investing sensibly, by investing first in infrastructure, which was the deficit that we saw, it was difficult to get by, so we had to build roads which belong to us, and roads which belong to the federal government. As I speak, we spent about 59 billion on federal roads in Lagos.
And you are reimbursed?
They have certified 51 billion, and we have not been reimbursed.
You will be, obviously.
No, well, if you are saying that to me with the authority of the federal government, put the money on the table. So, but the point to make is that at some point in time, our people were saying, look, we're paying taxes, leave federal roads, deal with the inner roads, and which was what we focused on in the second time. And so that is one. But what does investment in infrastructure do? It enables idle equipment, idle personnel to get to work, construction companies, construction workers, and in that way, people can earn their own daily income without waiting for the 23,000, which is all they will get. What then follows again is that construction companies leverage, borrow money from banks so that banks can also keep their staff. The only way banks make money is by borrowing and earning income on the money you save, the money you save. Now, from then on, you are then able to energize people into productive activity from which more revenues can be generated. I
asked this question because...
Which takes me, if you permit,
yes, please.
Which takes me to the issue of the IGR. So if you take 10 billion naira a month, that's roughly average what we receive from FAC. Our wage bill today is 6.5, 6.7 billion. So after that, I'm left. So that's money for the whole state. The wages have taken it because increasing to minimum wage, 18,000 and all of that, that's what is done.
Sorry, if you allow me, I asked that question basically.
I'm answering you.
Yes, I asked.
You don't like my answer?
No, of course. Yeah. I just want to clarify my question. I asked that question basically because, according to statistics, given by some of your officials, 80% of your budgetary performance is from IGR.
Roughly about 70%.
Fine. Now, over 70% of that is from taxation. You tax a lot of...
I'm getting to it.
Yes.
I'm getting to it.
And some of those tax policies have been highly criticized by Lagosians themselves.
Oh, interesting that you take that point. You know what?
Yeah.
The bulk of the revenues come from personal income tax. You know where the legislation comes from? It comes from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's a personal income tax act enacted by the federal government, not enacted by Lagos State government. What we have done is simply to enforce the law, to collect those monies in a way that people can see also what we're doing with the money. Now, I've told you some of what we're doing with the money. You see, we can live a life without taxation, which will mean that all that Lagos State will then get is collect 10 billion naira every month, pay salaries of 6.5 billion, look at the 3 billion or 2-point-something billion that is left and see what is left to do and fold our hands. But on the contrary, we have had the courage with our integrity to tell people, pay your taxes. Trust us with it. This is what we would do with it. And on the basis of that commonwealth, we have built from where we are, where we were, to where we now are. And in spite of all of this, perhaps you would like to know that from those resources, we are taking on obligations that belong to the federal government beyond what we should be doing. Immigration office in Lagos, in Ikeja, not only did we provide the land, we built the office, we furnished it. That's a federal agency. Police, we resource police, vehicles, uniforms, guns, bullets. Prisons, we provide vehicles for them because the people who live in Lagos are residents of Lagos. And whether the federal government carries the responsibility or drops it, we will continue to act because they are residents. Passport office in Ikoyi, we provide fuel that runs their generators from those taxes. So if we take away those alone, you can see how uncomfortable people will become.
I don't know, Your Excellency.
You've talked about, sorry, Claire, you've talked about the funding of resourcing of the police through, obviously, the Security Trust Fund. I would like us to stick to one issue now. This is a matter that Claire raised in terms of infrastructure. Yeah. Take a look at this. Mushin, Shomolu, Ishaleko, Ajegunle, and elsewhere. These are areas crying for urban renewal. People have sometimes wondered why the state government, instead of pursuing vigorously urban renewal in such locations, is proceeding, as it were, as a backer of the Eco-Atlantic City project.
Okay, good. I don't know when last you visited Shomolu. I have been there from time to time inspecting projects that we are doing there. At this moment, there are no less than 6 or 7 inner city roads going on in Shomolu. There are drainage projects to deflood Shomolu. Because when you talk about urban renewal, you really have to also understand where the challenges are coming from. Isaleko also that you're talking about, there was a central business district infrastructure renewal during the tenure of my predecessor, which created some of this kind of hue and cry, but people didn't understand it then. That is where the stock exchange and most commercial outfits, the commercial, that is where the essence of Lagos being the commercial capital is. Without infrastructure, it won't run. And in the aftermath of that investment, the central bank has rebuilt its headquarters. The infrastructure urban renewal that you talk about also is not going to happen by government building every house. It's by government providing the infrastructure that enables individuals to restake their commitment and their investment. And that's what's happening in Shomolu and all of those places that you talked about. Mushin, 16 new roads were handed over, I think, earlier this year. It's a work in progress that will never end because at this moment as we speak, new babies are being made, new families are relocating to Lagos as a result of the insurgency and displacement that is going on in the country. More people are coming into Lagos, so the problem won't end. Now, back to the Eco-Atlantic. I think it is important when we make some of these comments to understand the history and the basis for that intervention. The reality is that as a child, where the ocean is now is not where it was when I was a child. You would walk at least 2 more kilometers to see water. There were houses there then. The ocean gradually took away Nigeria's territorial shoreline. And what was the federal government doing then? They were pumping sand and putting sandbags. And what happened every time? The sea came to take it away. Now, the government then of my predecessor decided that we must have an enduring solution to it. We must take back from the sea what it took from Lagos. So we are not reclaiming land there. We are taking back what the sea has taken away from Lagos. And this time around, we are reinforcing and protecting it with a model of engineering using interlocking X blocks that has been modeled in Holland by our consultants to withstand a tsunami. Perhaps because we do not make noise about this kind of thing, waves as high as 7 meters have hit that shoreline. But let me remind you that since that intervention took place, has NTA flooded again on Amadou Bello Way?
We thank you.
Water used to come into your premises then. It has not happened again. So it is important. It is important. Let me make this point.
Let him explain the context.
Let me yes. So that is first a defense for Lagos against flooding. Flood used to reach the Nigerian law school when it rained heavily. And that flooding will not stop in the sense that every time there's a hurricane in America, which is the north of the Atlantic, within 7 to 14 days, you will feel the impact in Lagos, which is the south of the Atlantic. They're in hurricane season now. So we all get on with our lives without really knowing what has happened. But that sea defense mechanism and the restoration of the shoreline, the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And we must be commended for this. Nigeria is losing villages and territories now to insurgents. We are reclaiming back territories from the sea. And I think that we deserve commendation for this.
That's fine. Your explanation is understandable. As I said, the context in which I asked it was that versus urban renewal. That's the context in which I asked it.
No, you see, urban renewal also goes on. Urban renewal also goes on. If you want more detail, let me go on.
I will ask you a question, and you take it along with the details you wish to provide. You've talked about private developers taking advantage of the infrastructural upgrade in some of the heavily crowded areas. Take a look, for instance, at Ikoyi. Any person who hasn't been to Ikoyi for the past 10, 15 years probably will be shocked at what's going on. High-rise structures all over the place. Do you have the infrastructure base to support this, or is just Ikoyi being overdeveloped?
Well, if you go inside Ikoyi, first of all, where did the problem come from? We desired as a people to live in the most prime area of Lagos. And what happened? Federal government sold all of its assets there to private individuals. And there was this enormous pressure for the development. So we cut up property that was single dwelling houses and we put 30 families there. And again, that didn't happen by accident. It happened because the state government, under pressure and in consultation with stakeholders there, decided to develop a new model city plan. And if you know enough about urban planning, you will know it's the most dynamic science. Urban plans are reviewed from time to time based on current needs and realities. And where we probably sit today, in another 50 years, you may come here and find out that the land use and the dynamics have again changed. But as we were putting 30 flats in one property, it was important to begin to also expand the roads. And that's why you will see the continuation of the Onikon-Falomo, which stopped at the junction of the French embassy, continuing now to Alexander and Gerard. Again, people didn't... Yes, through body loan. Yes. And people didn't understand this at the time. Why are you expanding our road? Why are you doing this? Where this? And I said, look, if you put 30 families in one property instead of one, there are now 30 more cars and sometimes 60. How are you going to get that? And they said, oh, we didn't see it quite that way. Now we understand. That explains again the link into Ikoyi through the Lekki Link Bridge. That explains now the expansion of Glover Road, which is going on. It explains the expansion of 2nd Avenue, which is going on, because we have moved businesses also into those areas. Yeah, and people just have to transport and come and earn a living. They're going to work. It's my responsibility to get them first to work and then get them back.
Your Excellency, we're racing against time. In your speech yesterday, when you were delivering your budget, you made reference to the revenue returns from the consumable tax bill, tax law, which of course you said is below your expectation. And I'm wondering.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. What I said was
that. But I'm wondering the wisdom in that particular law.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me say in every federation that I have visited, whether it's in New York, whether it's in India, whether it's in Canada, if you buy something in a restaurant, not only will you pay value-added tax, you pay state tax, you pay service charge, you pay the local authority. So we must first understand all of this. Now, so instead of waiting for those monthly 10 billion naira, now the money is reducing regularly. Many states can't pay salaries. We have to take our destiny in our own hands. Let me finish, please, if you don't mind. Now, the point, therefore, what you must understand about that is that it is the traditional and age-long way of redistributing wealth. If you have enough money to eat 3 meals and come and drink a bottle of wine or champagne in a hotel, give us a little of it so that we can go and provide drugs, we can go and provide books to support free education. That is the principle of taxation. It redistributes wealth by taking a little from those who have and giving it back to the many who don't have. That is why the Warren Buffetts of this world are always the first to say, tax me more because I can earn more money. That is why Bill Gates can say today, I've made enough money. I'm going to Africa to go and help the poor. That is why Dangote is aligned with those kind of initiatives. We cannot have a situation where rich, middle class, successful working people don't pay a little. It is the only way to redistribute wealth. Otherwise, we just collect everything and say, everybody take your 23,000 and go home.
Well, Governor, that's a sub point. Yesterday, incidentally, we discussed taxation on this program. And one of the issues that certain persons have been bothered about, particularly with Lagos, that to access certain services, you are required to present your tax clearance certificates. And oftentimes, your officials turn down TCCs brought from other jurisdictions or other states. Why is this so?
Well, let me try to first say that I think as a country, across party lines, we need to develop a tax philosophy and ideology. In the American democracy, for example, there is no debate. You will pay tax. The elections are fought or won about how creative each party decides to share the tax burden. Should it be everybody paying the same, or should it be the 1% rich paying more? Those are the debates. And until we have that common agreement, we will have this kind of issues. Now, that said, I am not sure now of the facts about rejection of tax clearance certificates, and I'm not sure that there will be lawful basis for it. But understand again the basis for the general principle and policy. If we understand the policy, then we can come to trim the excesses of the policy. The policy is that taxation is the basis for representation. If you don't contribute to the Commonwealth, you should not benefit from it. Now, it is possible that some of our officials, and I say this with a lot of caution, either do not fully understand that there are taxing liabilities across jurisdictions also, and that if you have paid your tax in Ogun, for example, you should be able to access certain services in Lagos. And these are jurisdictional issues, but they haven't been escalated to my desk. But as you make the point now, I will go back home and check what is going on. And policies from time to time, because we actually entrust human beings to go and implement policies, sometimes with a not too full appreciation of where the limits of the policy run.
The only exception to, just clear, yes. I'll give you the opportunity to ask the question. You said taxation is the basis of representation. Yes. Perhaps the only exception to that will be Washington, D.C., which is, their motto is taxation without representation. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Claire, go ahead, please.
Yes, well, of course, Your Excellency, we cannot but talk about politics. The desire of every Nigerian is that 2015 election is free, fair, and credible. What is the model of your party for attaining that?
Well, the reputation of my party is all too well known, and those who we have assembled together in the APC, we fight and contest for the confidence and the trust of the electorate. We campaign vigorously, and we also work very hard. We provide service as a basis for coming back to them to say, give us the opportunity to do more of the good things that we have done. But the point is, at this level where the electoral umpire begins to manage the process in a way that is very, very worrisome and suggestive that all will not be well, if suddenly the electorate in my state, announced by the electoral umpire, INEC, in 2011 as 6.24 million voters, suddenly become 4.8 without any logical explanation. And from what I hear now, very few people have gotten their permanent voters card. So what should have started in 20 local governments at the last minute, either deliberate or accidental mismanagement, it now has to be 11. In that 11, every morning, every evening, we get complaints. I haven't seen them in my area. So there's clearly a design premeditated to disenfranchise people from participating. And I will for now keep my gunpowder dry until the exercise is completed. Then I will come back. We will assess how well the exercise has gone, and we will make our position known, and we will take our decisions at
INEC,
that moment.
INEC also had the opportunity of speaking to us here. I mean, it was said sometimes that there were instances in the past of double registration, which the system has tried to clear. But as you said, let's keep that issue dry. But to wrap up, are you interested in who succeeds you next year?
You see, first of all, you have to understand the roles that I have. First of all, governor, then a citizen. As governor and as citizen, I am interested in who continues after me, because that person will be the person I will look to provide leadership and service for my state. Answer to your question, yes, very emphatic yes, I am interested.
Now, are you concerned about the statement issued by Dr. Moise Banire with regard to the shenanigans going on with respect to who succeeds you otherwise?
In this political space, when everybody is jostling for office, people are going to feel disappointed here, frustrated here, and to the extent that it is a public statement concerning how things are done, I don't see that he has broken any law. So freedom to speak is a guarantee under the Constitution. If anybody is dissatisfied by that, there are remedies, but we've had all of those things. My attention has been drawn to some of them. A party member who is dissatisfied, yes, what is he saying? Should we listen? And so on and so forth.
Raju Fashola of Lagos State, we'd like to thank you for joining in our conversation this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, taking you live on the network service of the NTA. Our next topic for conversation this morning will be football administration, but that will be in a moment.
Oh yes, we love our greatest leader. Nigerians love him. Oh yes, we do. Good luck, Jonathan. Oh yes, we love you, our leader. Nigerians love you. Oh yes, we do. Good luck, Jonathan. For you feel our heartbeats, provide for us all our basic needs. You give to us all the good luck that we share, transforming Nigeria from backward to forward ever, forward ever. Yeah, transforming Nigeria from backward to forward ever, forward ever.
Honor to whom it is due. Good luck, Abella Jonathan. You are the best president of Nigeria. This message is brought to you courtesy Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria. Done.
Do you know that you are exposed to up to 100 illness-causing germs every day?
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on my Dettol to fight germs. It's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. My Dettol disinfects surfaces and clothes, keeping them clean and safe from germs.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Thank you for joining us again, Kingsley. Earlier Rhoda was talking about the pain she, felt not not going to have the opportunity of watching the Super Eagles play in AFCON, Equatorial Guinea.
Oh, well, I mean, that's, as she said, she's still, saddened by that fact of our non-qualification. But you know, soccer is a game. You win, you draw, or you lose. And that's the way it goes.
Yes, and of course, failure is not means you only need to get back to the drawing board and re-strategize. And that's why we're looking at this topic today. It's part of our conversation on Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be looking at football administration and what has got the professionals got to do with it. And Gideon Ifade has this background that will lead us into the discussion.
Well, Claire, I think instead of taking the background, it's advisable for us to go straight into the conversation with our guest, so that, you know, because we're told that we're running out of time. We have joining us from the Lagos station, Goke Afolabi. It's a former Super Eagles player. He played in the national team, well, of course, at the time it was still Green Eagles. He played in the national team in 1982, and he was also in the junior national team from 1979 to 1981. It's currently a doctoral research student in sports science. Would like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
Okay, do we have the audio? If right there, if you can hear us, as I said, we'd like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. It's been quite a while since you were out of the national team, but of course you've been following the fortunes of the national team in recent years, and more particularly our ouster from the Nations Cup and all the trouble that the nation witnessed with respect to who became the head of the Footballing Federation. Now, what's your take on the way forward for us?
Well, actually, I expect Nigerians to see what has happened. They're supposed to know that things like that will happen at a point in time in during the competition, because when you look at the World Cup, during the preparation, the last Cup of Nations, what we are talking about was that we are preparing, we are rebuilding, we are doing everything. Then suddenly we won the competition, and because we are not sincere with ourselves, we begin to see ourselves as world champions. And we went to the World Cup with the euphoria of thinking that we can win the World Cup, and we came back. And I've been talking about our performances. We came back from the World Cup, and I don't know what we have done to assess the performance of the players, the coaches. We have not documented anything. And generally speaking, I've been asking the federation and people who are concerned, even in the time of AKG, what are we using football to address in Nigeria? You can't just play football. To measure development, you must be using the football to address something. There was a time I wrote to the NFF to ask them if a club like Julius Berger could withdraw from the league. They have the best welfare package for players in the country. Union Bank withdrew. I said, these are the people you have to go to ask them the reason why, what is the problem. We took an experiment up in Lagos State. We set up Eco United. After I've spent 164 million naira on the club, I am ashamed to present the report that I saw about the administration, about refereeing, about everything. Going to the stadium, there's nothing. And you see, we cannot compromise development with participation. We are just celebrating participation at all time. We need to develop. Look at in Europe now. They want to streamline the number of foreign players that will come to play there. Why? Because they want to give the opportunity to their own children to play. But here, what are we trying to achieve with football? Nobody has been able to answer me since all these days. The Cup of Nations we just lost, what the report that came is the NFF said they are taking responsibility. I mean, how can you take responsibility for what? Are you the one that played? What happened? We must be able to explain to us there's what we call the process go, the outcome go. If the outcome of our process does not work, we go back to the drawing board. But where do we start from? This is the question I keep asking them. What do we want to achieve with football? And unless our knowledge about the game changes, there's not going to be any change anywhere. We need sports intelligence and football education at all levels.
Legoke Adelabu, let me ask you, the Super Eagles also, you know, in the AFCON 2015, many Nigerians have actually blamed, you know, the coach and the technical bench, for the poor performance, the continuous poor performance of our Super Eagles. But I remember the saying of one of the, professionals, Football International, talking about J.J. Okocha. He said that if you blame the players or Keshi, for instance, you be, short-sighted. Is that the way it is?
I think the coach is supposed to take responsibility for it, because sometimes the performance of the players is determined by the exposure that the coach gives to them, the tactical ability of the coaches, the way you can sack them. And we are too many for anybody to say you want to train in Nigeria. We are still developing. We have so much talent. We have so many players all over the world that you can use. And because the way we are playing them, it is what is not acceptable. The way we want to set up the national team is what is not acceptable. We are not tactically sound. And if they blame the coach, there's something I can do about that, because he has to take responsibility. And when you look at our players over time, they are not developing personally compared to the different other players all over the world. They are not. Their personal development, there's professional development, there's personal development. Many of them are not developing tactically and mentally. And they're supposed to have seen this. But I don't know what the federation is trying to do to help the coach or to help the player at any point in time.
Is it the coach? Or is it the coach, Keshi, in this case? Or is it, because we've also had, foreign coaches, take our Super Eagles or take our football team, and still they performed, below expectation. So is it a matter of whether it's a Nigerian coach or a foreign coach, or is it an administrative issue?
Yes, they are both. And the decision of Nigeria is a very, very complex one. Look at the antecedent of all the foreign coaches that you have employed. We frustrated them out of the system. And the same thing is happening to the indigenous coaches. But the most important thing is that we have sufficient players who can do this job. It is a matter of trying to re-educate these coaches and about administration. There's nothing we can do about the administration, because the moment we want to get somebody out of the office, they use FIFA to threaten us. And until Nigeria delivers ourselves from FIFA, we will continue to have problems. We need to put our house in order, put the necessary people in the right position, and let us go and explain to FIFA later. If they want to suspend us, let us sit down and rebuild. The league is not going well. The school sports is not going well. We are not getting what we need to get out of sports in this country. So unless we are ready to take the bull by the horn and go for it, we don't just want anybody to come and administer football in this country. And most of the problem of politics now has compounded everything, because many people can do it. They don't have the money to do the campaign. You may not, if you don't have the support of a particular governor in a state, you will not be able to take part in the election. So that is the compelling problem that we are facing in the nation.
Let's take a look at this. Oftentimes, when we complain about the weaknesses of our local league and other age grade championships, what used to be called academicals, for instance, Youth Fund was very active in the 70s and 80s. Are we not setting our sights solely, as it were, on government and government-related bodies to get us out of this? Everybody knows in Europe and elsewhere where the leagues are very strong, you have a lot of private sector investment. In this environment, we are not saying that. I mean, a simple question to ask, for instance, is that how many of our clubs own their own stadia? So what do you think we ought to do now to get our league, to get our football into a business mode, so that we can now begin to reap, as it were, the benefits of the right investment in the right places?
Is that I don't want the Nigeria Football Federation to limit the administration of football to those people who are elected to the office, because there are people outside the board that are better, that have more intelligence and have experience. So what they need to do, that's what Fashola did before he came to the office. I tag it as a abnormal intelligence. This guy gathered about 40 of us around the round table, and every department you present what you want to do, with your PowerPoint, your proposals, and every single person will question you. I ask people questions on water, so there's nothing you can tell me. The Football Federation, they need to sit down and get the people who have the knowledge together and see. We have problem. Take for instance, I told you I spent over 164 million. I don't want to talk more than that on football to develop football in this country. Eco United Football Club. I expected them that they need to ask me questions. What happened about the officiating? What happened about the gate takings and everything? Nobody is ready to ask you that question. And you don't expect any businessman to bring 164 million and could just allow it to go down the drain like that without anybody asking you a question. You send proposal to them, nobody listen to you. Nobody want to. I think we cannot see on the television because we still want people to sponsor the game. Only the government team is functioning. That is not the way we develop sports. We must encourage, like what I told you about Julius Berger. They need to question Julius Berger. Julius Berger must have a football club in this country. Most of these companies, they must have. Because we give them contract, we give them everything. There must be a way they are giving back to the society. They shouldn't allow people like that to just fish out of the system. And we need more clubs to come up in the country.
I mean, in the past, we had businesses that sponsored clubs. NEPA Football Club of Lagos, you remember. Stationary stores, you know, the Adebayo Babes. Leventis United. They were Bendel Insurance Football Club. Yeah, of course, and as Claire just reminded me, Julius Berger. These were teams. But the key aspect, you have also raised a particularly important question. You know, when people put their money somewhere, they are interested in what happens to that money. Perhaps if we strengthen the business side of our soccer development and our soccer management, we are unlikely to be faced with some of these major challenges. But you say those who are inside should get those who are outside to a round table, as it were. Is this feasible considering the interest that those who are inside may wish to defend?
Develop a system that will accommodate our peculiarity in Nigeria, irrespective of how it is done in other parts of the world. If I want to spend my money to build a team, I must have a say in the way the game is run. Not that you keep me outside and you sit down, you have a committee to judge me when I come to complain about the way a match went. And you have to judge me by I lose my point, I lose my money. So what they need to do is to identify that. I go back to my point. What do we want to use football to address in this country? Then there are so many soccer academies in the country. I went to a particular some soccer academies. I sat down watching them. I was crying within myself that if this is the way I was brought up, there was no way I could play for this country. And many Nigerian players, they are playing their life as football rather than playing football for living. So we need a lot of things in place. I've sent several proposals to the Nigerian Football Federation. I pray they'll be able to look at it. They need to manage. Most of the bulk of players we have come from the soccer academy. They are not well managed. They have to be managed properly. There must be structure in place to train these players. Most of them are out of school. You want to do research, it's so difficult to carry out any research. And without any research, there's no way we can move forward.
Discovery I made, and Kingsley, I stumbled into a write-up which talked about the pitch, how the Nigerian pitches are killing our football. I don't know. It talked about the need for us to move away from artificial, pitches to natural grass. I don't know, but maybe you need to respond to this quickly, and that will be our last question for you.
I think that's unnecessary complaint, because the important thing is that most of us graduated from most of these bad pitches. And there are sometimes, how can somebody come from another country, a team come from another country and play in my country on my soil, and I'm not complaining that it defeated me, I was not able to win because of the pitches? No. I don't think I think that is irrelevant. Even though we're supposed to have good pitches all over the world, but that is not the reason why we are not where we're supposed to be.
All right, Adegoke Adelabu, a former Super Eagles player who played in the national team in 1982 and was in the junior national team from 1979 to 1981. Currently, you're doing a PhD study in sports science. Thank you for joining us live from the Lagos Network Center. All right, we're moving on now, and Nnamdi Odikpo gives us details. All right, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back.
Do you know that you are exposed to up to 100 illness-causing germs every day?
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on my Dettol to fight germs. It's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. My Dettol disinfects surfaces and clothes, keeping them clean and safe from germs.
I need a great deal, the best price I can get. That's why I shop on Jumia. Quality you can trust. You can count on us. Shopping easier. Nation delivery. When you shop on Jumia, when the rain or shine,
The Infinix Zero, now available at 23,900 naira at jumia.com.ng. Jumia, the online shop you can trust.
Put a cup of jig in the water, we'll get school uniforms whiter, and it is the tough stain fighter that will get your whites much brighter. Just Chickens! Pot puree and lemon. Just Chickens! Hey, you better go get it! Now available in lemon and pot puree fragrances, the newest and freshest way to chickens.
All right, also joining us from our Lagos Network Center is Effiong Nyong. Nyong is a veteran journalist. Nyong, thank you for joining us. And let's quickly take up from where the last guest, that's Adegoke Adelabu, stopped. He was responding to my question on whether, the nature of our pitches, have any relevance to the poor performance of the Super Eagles, talking about the use of artificial pitches,
Thank you so much for having me. Like Adela, I listened to Adelabu. Now he did respond saying that there is no excuse for our players to lose, particularly like the game we lost against Congo in Calabar, because complaining about pitches, because our visitors also played on the same pitch. Now, having said that, there is no two ways about having good pitches around the country, and I can tell you that the pitches we have around the country today are better than whatever they used to be. When we were growing up, we used to play on very stony pitches, and that doesn't happen anymore, because some credit must be given to the league management company and the sports commission. They've insisted, and there are a number of stadia across the country that are good and well maintained. Some of the pitches are synthetic pitches, like the one we have in Lagos, the Teslim Balogun Stadium, where the Federations Cup final was played on Sunday. It's a good pitch, and there are some of such pitches around the country. Synthetic pitches, let's not forget that recently we hosted the World Youth Championship in '99, where pitches were developed. The Under-17 World Cup was also held here in Nigeria in 2009, and that helped in the development of these pitches. And some of these pitches, I can tell you, are better maintained than they ever used to be. So yes, we need good pitches, but I can also safely say that there are good pitches around the country if other things are put in place to encourage the game.
Natural grass necessarily have any advantage over synthetic pitches?
It has to do with yes and no. It depends on training. Now, the natural grass, like the word natural sounds, is natural, it's good, it's accommodating, does not have in terms of injury, it does not have does not cause as much injury to the player. So it's more adaptable to players and their health. And around the world, all big matches, all great countries play on natural grass. Now, that is not to say that the synthetic pitches are also not good. It's also good, but not as good as the natural grass. Now, the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, insists that pitches are better when they are natural, and that's why natural grass is preferred to the synthetic pitches.
What in your view is the way forward for our soccer in this country, administration, management, and financing?
I will take it one after the other now. In terms of management, the Nigeria Football Federation, we just have a new board, I was privileged to be in company of the present Federation president. His name Melvin Amaju Pinnick, and that was on Saturday night. And he did go as far as explaining the things that his board is going to be doing in order to improve the lot of football in the country. First, they are inviting consultants, Pricewaterhouse, to look at the accounting of the accounting of the federation. They brought in consultants to look at the marketing of the federation and the property of football in the country, both at the league and the national team level. They've also contracted some other consultant to look at the look and feel of Nigerian football. Now, all of these are things that one thinks, if harnessed, will take us to the next level. They are also contemplating having a football summit that will throw they will throw it open for stakeholders and interested individuals inside and outside of football to come and contribute their quota towards what it is that they need to do in the development of the sport in the country. Now, that is being done administratively. Now, we now come to the issues of corporate Nigeria. Now, we seem to forget some of those things in a hurry. A whole lot of the teams in Nigeria are sponsored by state governments. How did the government come into football? Now, when I was growing up, we had so many club sides around the country, sponsored by clubs here and there. Now, let's not forget that during those years, we also had the policy of indigenization that indigenized most of the corporate organizations that existed in the country. And the implication of that was that a whole lot of foreign partners of those companies left the country. And as they were leaving, they left with their monies. And these clubs that were left in the country could not manage the football clubs, because the football clubs at the time were like PR arms of the different corporate organizations. Now, that couldn't be sustained because of the monies that were now available, because a lot of the foreign partners of these companies left. Now, you can name it from in Lagos, for instance, we had Lagos Divisional Football Association up to Lafa Division 4 League played in Lagos here. But all of that evaporated when that indigenization policy came in, and that was in the late 70s. And a lot of companies, a lot of them, capital flight that is currently going on in the system, took away so much of these monies. That's on another side. On the other side is that the governments of the different states of the federation now took over those club sides, using it either for propaganda or as a public relations arm, as for whatever. I mean, in the recent past, a state governor had to be sitting on the bench as a technical advisor to show the people that, oh, he's passionate about football, he loves football, so he was there to do everything for football. So when you aggregate all of this together, you can see that to sort out the issues concerning football, we need to look at, one, the administration of the sport, which the Football Federation is attempting to manage to do now. We need to look at the policies that govern the corporate existence of companies in the country. What responsibilities do they have? What does corporate social responsibility mean in the true sense of it? If a company says, oh, this is a socially responsible activity of my organization, what does it imply? What points are they driving home? What do they give back to that society? How much money do they make in the society? And how much are they taking out on a daily or monthly or weekly basis? Now, that has to be addressed in the true sense of it. Now, what do the people themselves have to do? What contributions do we have to do? Now, when you look at it from that perspective, you also go back to look at the relationship between the Sports Ministry and the Ministry of Education. When we were growing up, there was the Ministry of Sports, yes. There was the Ministry of Education, yes, also. But there was the School Sports Unit that harmonized the activities of the Ministry of Education and the then Sports Council at the time. But that is not happening today. The school sports is existing as an island. The Ministry of Education is existing as an island. The National Sports Commission is existing as an island. And when all of these independent islands are not meeting at any point, it becomes difficult to harness the potentials of this country. 20 million people, how do you harness them? I mean, I listened to Adegoke talk about academies here, academies there. He talked about Youth Sports Federation. How would Youth Sports Federation function? Tony Eke, the man that promoted Youth Sports Federation, he's down with stroke. There's no care, there's no welfare. He's sick, he's in a Ikotuegbe here in Lagos now. He needs assistance, nobody's assisting him. What will make another individual, another Nigerian, go give his all to say, I want to start, or I want to take over Youth Fund, for instance, or I want to set up another federation that will take care of youth football development in the country? What happens to me when I'm down? So it's so much, they are legion, all of those issues, but we can break them down if we take it step by step. We separate that of the responsibility of the federation, we take it aside, and get the federation to do its job. We look at what responsibility do the corporate organizations owe the country, and what is the responsibility of government in terms of providing facilities, in terms of providing the ambience, the environment that will encourage all of these different groups to function effectively to a point at which we can begin to expect optimal performance.
Okay, on that note, we'd like to thank Effie Onguyong, a sports analyst, for his incisive comments on our discussion on the way forward for Nigerian football. Once again, Effie Onguyong, thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria. We'll wrap up now with arts and entertainment, a brief one there from Abdul Malik Adio.
The three-day event, which took place at the Abuja Sheraton Hotel and Towers, saw top dignitaries from within and outside the country in attendance. Day 2 was a cocktail, which was the honoring of the French tradition called Beaujolais, the testing and celebration of new wines.
Beaujolais Nouveau is actually dates back to the last century. It was created in 1951.
I think I'm particularly happy because this reminds me of our own New Yam Festival. Today it is French New Wine Festival.
Some of the wines exhibited were French, Italian, South African, Ethiopian, palm, and a host of other wines, each giving a taste of the history of each of the countries represented.
Palm wine took you to Africa. We more or less traveled this evening.
It's not about drinking wine, it's about the experience that you have when you drink wine, and let your memory go and your mind go to what it really means.
Crowning the 3-long day to a whole new level was the African night with our local palm wine.
Wine has become some part of country's culture, so it's a wonderful event, basically.
We now chose to have African nights, where the Africans could come together, where we can blend the palmy and can it and bottle it like any other grape that you see in the whole world.
It wasn't all about wine exhibition. The event was spiced up with other entertaining aspects.
I remember an old song, Kingsley, by, I can't remember the author. It says, everywhere I go, plenty palm wine, they wait for me.
I don't remember.
I think so.
I don't remember the artist who sang that. But you know, palm wine comes from the palm tree. And many Nigerians will be surprised in how many states palm trees are grown in this country, or can be grown in this country. I'm sure most people would think that palm trees can be grown mostly in the southern parts of the country. But actually, 24 states in Nigeria can produce palm trees, including Kaduna.
All right, that's it for today on Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you for being part of it. Do join us same time again tomorrow morning. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul-Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. It's been my pleasure having you join us on today's edition. As Claire said, the program returns tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning. Do have a nice day.